Alright, my fellow river rats, Adam back with Local Waters Minnesota, here to go over an equipment video to get you ready for this upcoming season. When I woke up this morning, it was 17 below zero with a 25-mile-an-hour wind coming out of the northeast, which was equaling, according to my phone, 38 below wind chill. So I thought, what a better day to do equipment video for you guys to get you ready for the upcoming season. Even though it feels nasty out there, we are close. I'm super excited about this upcoming season. So I'm just going to go over some equipment that I use and where to get it, how to get it, things like that. So I am going to start with the fishing poles. They're down here. Let me grab it. For those that are very novice in this, just starting out, they make a very simple rod here. This is just a Shakespeare Wildcat. I think I got it for 29 bucks at Gander or Camping World. It comes with the line you need, and it's about a 6.5 foot heavy medium action, just a spin cast bait reel here. Cheap, easy, reliable, and if you don't know how to use a spinner or a bait caster, there you go. That one's really easy here to use. But what I use is start with my spinning reel here. This is my medium light. It's a 6 foot medium light rod and reel. It was really expensive. It was actually free. My grandpa gave this to me. It is strung up with 12-pound Berkeley trout, which I'll go over the lines and stuff of everything in just a minute here. But this is my main bait catcher that I use to catch fish, to catch big fish. So this is what I'm going to use. Put crawlers on there, cast it out, and catch my red horse, my drum, and then use those for bait. So really important to have a good solid one with a sensitive tip. Next is another bait catcher. This one's a little more heavy duty though. This is I like to have one out there while I'm bait fishing, just in case I pick up a big fish and still be able to get it in. This also casts really far, and I can use a little heavier weight to get the worm out deeper. So what I do, this is just an Garcia Black Max Baitcaster. If you don't know how to use these, I don't recommend this being your primary anything. It's always good to get it and practice, but if you don't know how to use it, I recommend spinning reels only or spin casts like the first one. You can get a lot of backlash with these with the heavier weights. So that's what I use for catching bait. Sometimes the fish bite too light, and you can't pick up their bite with these heavier rods, so that's why it's good to have both. And then this also works good too if you have equipment issues with one of your bigger rods. This can act as a heavy bait rod to catch your bigger fish. So those are my two I start with. And then this is going to be for the big boys. This is old trusty. I've had this rod since 2003, and it's Valentine's Day 2021. I bought it because they spelled night wrong. It's upside down and whatever, but they spelled night wrong, and it's a big heavy rod and it's really inexpensive. It's actually, I've had it so long that it's not even the same color anymore. I'm on my third reel with it. I've caught many of my personal bests on this. This is just a $29 spinning reel. When you do go spinning reel for your big rods, you want to get something that has a lot of line capacity. And the reason you want to do that is because they can pull. Big fish will pull a lot of line off, and you can get spooled if you don't have enough line. So again, third reel. Love this rod. I've had it forever. It's actually so wore down that the tip doesn't have any nylon inserted in it. It's just metal, and it's actually shaped funny. So that's my big boy rod, one of them. And I do recommend having, this is my most expensive setup here. The rod was only $29.99. It's just an Ugly Sticks GX2. It's very stiff. It's a 6.5 foot heavy action rod. And I've got an Ambassador Garcia 500S left-handed crank on here. These baitcasters have a lot more torque when you're trying to get your fish out of the deep, especially when you're shore fishing. You want to get those fish out of the hole as fast as possible so they don't tangle you up. So it is nice to have one of these. I've landed more big fish since I've gone to this setup. I did have a different rod last year. I snapped it casting big suckerhead out. That was a whooping stick. That was $14.99, but it lasted me 5 years until I broke it. That happens when you fish like this. This is the only expensive piece of equipment I have, and it really isn't that much. I don't recommend spending a ton of money, guys, because you're gonna break stuff and you're gonna get sand in your reels. And I mean, you want to have equipment that can handle it, but at the same time, you don't need to spend a ton of money. All those rods together are probably less than $200, and they work. And they work for years. So that's the way you get started with your rods and reels. I'm gonna go right to the line because you got to know what to put on the reels, right? So for that spin cast rod that I use for my bait, I like this Berkley Trilene Big Game. This is 12-pound test. I like the Big Game. It's a little more abrasion resistant, and I like these bright colors. The Mississippi is really dark, and these bright colors make it easier for me to see the line. When a fish takes it towards you sideways, you can see the fish moving, and it also lets you know how much line you got left, how far your cast is. So I like the bright line. This line is great. It's good for casting, and it's really strong. Cut a 15-pound flathead on that guy. For my secondary Baitcaster, the smaller one, the Garcia Black Max, I've got 25-pound Run CL. I just found this stuff on Amazon last year. It's colorful, and again, I like that because I can see it. You can see the line moving off your reel if you don't hear your bite or see your bite. You can see color changes when they pull the line out, so it's really nice to have this. And this stuff's tough, and it was inexpensive. This is like 5 years worth of line for $10. On the two bigger rods that I use for cut bait and my big bait, I do run 60-pound Run CL Braided Line here, same colorful stuff. It's super strong, it casts well, the knots don't slip, and this is again $9 for 5 years worth of line. I change it out every couple of years, and it's good stuff. For the leader end, I'll show you what that means in a minute here. I use 30-pound Berkley XT, anything 30 pounds good, around that range, and this is for this ties to the hook and the swivel. It's a lot stronger, it's more abrasion resistance. And then for the end for the leader of my cut bait and live bait and anything I'm using the 60-pound, I use Berkley Trilene Big Game 50-pound. A lot of people use heavier stuff. This is enough. You don't need more than this. And the stuff's really strong, it's abrasion resistant, and it's easy to tie. That's part of the thing. The heavier line's hard to tie. So we're gonna slip right into what you tie the stuff up with. So you're gonna want to get, flat sinker or an egg sinker. So this is a 1.5 ounce flat sinker, and this is a 2 ounce egg sinker. And these are what I use to cast the crawlers out to catch my bait. So what you would do, you got your leader, so you cut that and tie your hook to it. We'll just do that quick. Just a simple fish knot. Line goes through, spin it around 10 or so times, and it goes right through the space between the top of the hook and the line. I just use my teeth there, just pull it tight. And then you're going to cut the line here quick. 8 to 12 inches, sometimes less. If the current's really fast, you want less. Next thing, it's going to go right to a barrel swivel. So the reason why I use a barrel swivel is a lot of times catfish roll a lot, and they'll twist your line, and your bait will actually spin a lot with the current out there. So you tie the same knot on this side, just another fishing knot. Spin it around 10 times through the space between the top of the barrel swivel and tie it tight. Now you've got your leader to put your crawler on, right? Next step is you're gonna have we'll go with the braided line here. This goes to the rod and reel. So the first thing you want to do is slide on your weight. I like to go skinny towards the rod. Doesn't really matter, seems to matter, you get hung up the same. And then before you tie your knot with the braided line or your mono, I recommend putting on a little bead from a slip bobber or a catfish, team catfish bumper, or like a rubber band. This is to protect your knot from getting beat up from casting and getting snagged, etc., etc. So you're going to slide that on, if it'll go through this braided line here. I'm going to slide that on. And you're going to tie this up, right? And then it's going to look like this. So you got your weight. Here's the Team Catfish bumper that keeps your line safe there, your knot, and then your bait leader. And you just hook up the crawler and cast it out, which you'll see on the maiden voyage coming up, how to do that. I recommend tying all your rods before you go, the night before, because you're going to probably have to tie a few on the side of the river and it gets old, because you will break off on occasion. Now that we've got that stuff covered, guys, here's a couple other things that, you know, the setup is always the same. It's a Carolina rig. For the big fish, I like to use a flat 5-ounce sinker here, or a 4-ounce roller, 5-ounce roller. And the reason I just go this heavy is everything heavier is going to start really wearing on my rods, casting from the shore. So this is enough weight to keep your baits down. And then after you get your cut bait caught, I've got a 10-aught Mustad Demon circle hook here, and then also an 8-aught, just for different size baits. This 8-aught works much better for channel catfish. The 10-aught works much better for flatheads, and then the 8-aught also works well for sturgeon fishing, for big sturgeon. I prefer like a 3-aught though, because I usually fish crawlers with those. And that's the type of stuff you'll need to keep your big baits down. You're going to need something to hold your rods in the side of the bank. You can go out and buy yourself one of these wiry things that sticks in the grass. 10 bucks for 2. They're alright. They don't work super well in loose sand. They don't work well in rocks, but they are nice to have for your bait catchers. So you can do that. I did make my own here, so this is my first prototype. Didn't like it a ton, but it worked out. So it's just a wooden dowel, piece of PVC, and a bunch of zip ties. The problem with this is it does get a little wiggly with big fish. Actually, one of the flatheads snapped one of these, so I kind of modified it to just a little different situation, kind of the same parts, but instead I just ran 2 wood screws through the wooden dowel inside the PVC. And then this doesn't move as much. The only downside to this is the rod doesn't get down as far, but both work and super cheap. Just found the stuff sitting in my garage, so awesome way to just not to spend money and have rod holders. You'll need bait. I just recommend getting some night crawlers, 2 to 4 dozen, depending on how long you're going to go and how active the fish are. I like to go with like 6 to 8 dozen because I've run out of that before. So. And that's just how you start. You don't really need to get sucker minnows and spend a bunch of money on that stuff either. So just start with crawlers and catch your bait from the river, which we'll go over soon. Always good to have a headlamp, right? You don't want to get caught out in the dark without it, and you can't really hold a flashlight while you're reeling in a 30-pound flathead. It just doesn't work. It's always good to have these, and then your hands are free to carry stuff. So headlamp's a must. Something to take the hook out. Just pliers. They're hard to take out by your hand. I do recommend gloves. Call me what you will, wimp, whatever. But every time I stick my bare hands inside of a flathead's mouth, my hands get shredded. So to all those noodlers out there and stuff that don't use gloves, you're tougher than I am. So bobbers for live bait. I couldn't find anything out there big enough to hold up, you know, a big piece of bait. So I thought, I'll try to make one. So I took a pool noodle, some PVC cap, just cut it up. And 2 styles here. I feel like this one's gonna work better. This weight will pull down, but I just recommend before you make it, don't glue the bottom cap on because you'll never get the line through. But you just drill a hole in the top, run the line through, put the line through the cap, put the cap back on. And what you would do is just run your leader line through all the way through this with a bead on the top, and tie it to your main line, which I'll show you out there. And then what's cool about this is actually muff buoyancy, that it'll set the hook with that circle hook before the, you know, by the time the catfish pulls the bobber down, it's set. So that's something new. I don't really do that much, so we're gonna try that out this year. So I can't really have any feedback on how they work or anything, but we'll soon see. You want to have a knife. I like to bring a fillet knife to cut up my cut bait after I catch it. Tackle box. A couple ways you can do it, right? You can get an over-the-shoulder strap. This guy here holds everything I need to go to the river for my equipment, and I can just put it right over my shoulder. Another way to do it is a backpack, and you'll need a backpack anyways, and then just put a couple of these, you know, filled up with what you need in here. I bring a lot of stuff with because I like to be prepared, so I like to have both. And I actually run with a Camelback because I can fill it up with water, and I don't have to bring water bottles and worry about leaving, you know, you never leave garbage behind, but you don't have that worry and carrying garbage out. This is the best way to do it, is it brings a couple gallons of fresh water with you, and it can carry everything you need. I actually won this. Pretty cool, this bait cooler. So you need something to keep your bait cold, or at least cool, and something to carry it in. Again, I don't go out with live minnows or anything. It's nice to have something to put your cut bait in and keep it cool, and I won that, so that's awesome. But here's what I've used for the last 10-15 years is my cat litter emptied plastic bin. You put a couple layers of ice down there, put your crawlers in there, you can put your cut bait in there, and then what's cool is on the way out, you can fill it up with your garbage and other people's garbage that they leave behind, and leave the place cleaner than you went in. But this was, you know, I bought this, cat litter's gone, useful tool, right? So that's another way to do it. That's the cheap way to do it. A 5-gallon bucket works too, but it's always nice to have something to put your bait in. So you want to make sure you have your shoulder strapped, backpack, and then how you carry the rods, right? So most people are going to just get hair binders, wrap them together, things like that, and then that allows you to carry it. And you'll see all that in the videos to come. I don't want to go on too long. For the love of God, do not forget toilet paper. This will save you. Ladies like it too. Put it in a Ziploc bag, bring it with, you'll never regret having it. First aid kit's important, right? Sunblock, bug spray, a must. I run a thermosol sometimes when it's not windy, these work good. The nice thing is you don't have to fish at night to catch fish around here. You just don't have to. There's a lot, I catch almost all of my big fish midday. You don't have to fish late at night. You can, fish do bite then, of course, but it's not as needed as most people make it seem to be, which I will show you coming down the road. Well, that's all I got for us today, guys. I know it's a lot of stuff in a short time, but that's all you need to get started. That's actually more than most people would ever bring, but I like to be prepared. When you're prepared, you can stay, you can sit longer. The longer you're there, the longer your baits are in the water, and the longer your baits are in the water, the better chance you have of catching a giant fish. Sometimes 3-4 in a day if you set out long enough. Snacks, water, right? That's just a no-brainer. Thanks for watching. Maiden voyage again is going to be in April. That's going to be my first trip. I'm actually going to take my new kayak out to a bridgehead, and you'll probably see that video that week. And that hopefully you see that video, because that means I caught fish. Everybody, thanks for watching. God bless, and have a great day.